from the All Indiana Podcast Network. It's Diversity Focus Today. Now, here's your host, Rickie Solid Gold Clark.
And welcome once again to another edition of Diversity Focus Today. I'm your host, Rickie Solid Gold Clark, along with Dr. Tammy Harris. We call her Dr. T over there, our expert in so many things. Our other talented co-host, Mike Murray, is on assignment today, so he is not available. But we've got a lot of things to talk about, and so we're going to get started with our program. So let me give you some backdrops. Here's what's been going on in the city of Indianapolis, which is our base right now. We've had a number of shootings, a number of deaths in our community, mostly youth. And so people are calling in, writing in, emailing, saying, what can we do to stop the gun violence in this city? And I'm sure there's gun violence going over really all over the country. So we've got our expert, of course, Dr. T is an expert in so many things, but in mental health. But let me give you a little background. You know, here recently in our city, there was as many as, and this is just during a weekend, like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like 17 plus people shot, different locations, except in the downtown area. I think we had 7 shootings, all in the heart of downtown Indianapolis, which is a major situation. But then total for that 4-day period, it was 17 shootings. We know that at least 2 died in the downtown area, and then there was 2 others outside of that downtown area that were involved in shootings that died. So out of the 17, we've lost at least 4 people, 2 of which we know for sure were youth. I think one was 16, and I want to say the other one was 13, and maybe 15. Not sure the ages, but still. So we've got so many guns out on the street, and it's so easy to buy a gun. I mean, you know, I've often said, you know, you can buy a gun easier than buying a pack of lifesavers or chewing gum or cigarettes for that matter, because you got to produce ID if you're 18 or is it 21? I'm not sure, and what it is in the state of Indiana. I think it's 18.
For cigarettes?
For cigarettes, you know, whereby if you can buy a gun on the street now. You can't go to a gun shop, but most guns are purchased on the street. And folks say, well, where do they get them from? Well, from burglaries, from theft. You know, people may leave a gun in the car, and a car gets broken into, or certainly in their house, burglarized, and those are hot commodities, guns. And, you know, so we've got to be extremely careful and, you know, keep an eye on what's going on. You know, back in the day, we always said it takes a village to raise a family. Well, you know, we need the villages to kick in. If you see something, say something.
Right.
And that's what we need. That can help curtail that. And folks want to blame the parents. Okay, well, you should know where your child is.
Right.
I don't care how old that child is, you should know where they are. If they are 18 and below, and even older, you know, my daughter's visiting from Atlanta. She's here. I asked her just yesterday, I said, what you hear what's going on in Atlanta and what's going on in here and other parts of the country. You know, you guys never said, look, she said, Dad, we knew, just like you constantly preached,
right.
You know, when you were coming up, when them street lights came on, you better be hightailing it home. And so we wasn't out after dark.
Right.
I mean, you know, we didn't want to get in trouble, you know, and we certainly didn't want to hear Mom, because she gonna raise holy hell if we come in there. You were a little bit easier, you know, you give us that look, but Mom would give us that conversation.
Right.
And we wasn't trying to feel
Brian
that.
would hear that in a 25-mile-per-hour conversation.
That's right. Yeah, and she wouldn't stop. Right. You go to one room, she go follow. She's right on you. So I said, yeah, well, obviously that worked. She said, yeah, and I did that. She said, I do that with my children. And, your grandfather constantly taught us, you know, our dad to be in here, and his famous words is, don't get in trouble. If you get locked up, you're going to stay there till I decide to come get you. And then, and then when I get you home, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, right. You wish you had gone back.
You're going to wish you'd gone back to jail. Can we go back to jail?
I had already told my son, too, in his teenage years. And he was like, you wouldn't get me if I went to jail. I said, well, you shouldn't have been in the position that got you in jail.
That's right.
Period,
You're going to sit there till I decide, and I ain't coming no time soon.
Right.
Oh, you going to let, yeah, like you going, yep. Might be. Would it be for hours? No, days. Maybe weeks.
Right. I tell my kids growing up, it's my job to keep you out of the hospital, the jail cell, and the graveyard.
That's it.
If you made it through adulthood without that, maybe the hospital, but we got,
a little bump from
whatever,
playing
we good,
sports
but
and all,
that's my values and my parenting guideline.
Right.
No hospital, or at least limited, or at least taking them when they need it.
Yep.
Because you don't want to be having medical neglect.
That's true.
And then police stations and graveyards.
You don't do that. But see, here's the thing. Everybody has cell phones. These kids have cell phones. They have trackers. Trackers can be placed on phones, so there's no reason why a parent should not know where their child is, especially if you put a tracker on the phone. If you don't have one on that phone, you need to install one on their phones.
Trackers, and even on cars.
Yes.
They have cameras that you put in little barrettes in their heads and things. They do. They have that for little kids, little barrettes with cameras in them when they go to these schools and things. Kids, parents want to watch over them.
Okay, well, see.
Yeah, so it's there. The technology is there for tracking and safety.
So folks need to use it.
Need to use them, or just, again, have that open and honest trust and communication with their child to know, my no is your safety. My no is your love for you. I'm not saying no to be mean. I'm saying no because I care. Yeah. So explain. Sometimes they just do as I say and not as I do. Well, sometimes, that was the golden staple of you're a child generation kind of coming up. And then I understand as it transitioned into the Child Protective Services, where the child felt they can empower themselves by calling DCS on their parents and what have you. But at the same time, have worked with home-based counseling and shelters and all that. It comes down to that trust and that understanding.
Well, I'm not a big fan of DCS. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's Department of Protection Services and
because they don't
Child
protect.
Services.
It's been my experience that they don't protect very well. We should not have lost any child
in the system,
the system, or through death because of them.
Yeah,
if they've got
that has happened,
and that's happened more than what it should be. Period. So they need to do something better than what they've been doing, because what they've been doing is not.
And that comes from being a clinical supervisor at one point. A lot of burnout, like when COVID happened. That's when a lot of home neglect and abuse occurred, domestic violence occurred, because now these parents had to parent kids that were off to school during the day. So a lot of families were at loss, and we were considered essential. So I had to kind of, go into these families. That took a lot of, what am I getting paid for? Am I getting paid enough to go into these homes during COVID time to protect and be able to report to DCS what's going on, or to provide services for the families?
Yeah.
It was rough, but it happened, but I can also see how burnout in our care providers, when they feel like they're against the grind with helping these families, or overbooked with caseloads because of lack of, employees or, support from the agencies that have them. So that typically, a lot of bureaucracy too, I think, in the system, because when I worked for a company that had got contracts from DCS, everybody had their own protocol and rules. So not only did we have to follow the agency policies, we had DCS policies, and sometimes they clashed or had these expectations where that contract don't align to your mission. So why are we, so it's a lot of behind the scenes and policy work, overload, burnout, that kind of maybe contributes to a lot of the kids.
Well, what can a parent do to curtail the violence in the street, as well as some of the violence that they may see in and around their home? What can we as parents do to offset that? And then
I would say yes, parents, but I would just also say like guardians, primary
Guardians,
caregivers.
okay.
Because
Caregivers.
unfortunately, there's some kids in foster care or some family members who's caring for younger family members because their loved one is homeless or on drugs or ill, sick. So with those type of elements that I think contributes to behaviors acting out.
Yeah.
Acting out behavior because my mom is poor or my mom is on drugs or my dad or my father. It could be all that. We could say it's childhood trauma and all that, but at the same time, it is a psyche to violence and to depression and anxiety that acts out in different ways.
Well, can children, is there a number they can call to report that to somebody if the parents are not doing or if their guardian is not doing what needs to be done?
I think of course you want to call 911 if you're in immediate emergent support and stuff. And I think I said 211 is definitely filled with support for the like resources and things that you would need. And I think I said 411, but that's another informational one.
Informational piece, yeah.
Right, but let me see, 244, I believe, is another.
Okay. So we have to, there are places that they can call and or go online, or since everything is technical and they got their phones and they can use it.
Yeah, and that's sometimes all it is. You can ask Google, which a lot of kids do. Ask for, they'll go 988.
988.
That's the new suicide and crisis lifeline. So
Okay.
that's for non-essential. I knew it was a 9 in there, but I also was getting it mixed up with the 411 and the 211. But it's 988, and that's the suicide hotline and prevention, where if you're feeling depressed or sad or need that intervention, it's neutral. You can talk for 1 hour. It's 24/7 support there.
Well, I'm going to switch the subject again. Let's talk about, and some of you may not know this, but it's happening or getting ready to happen, and that's dealing with the student loan. There's a lot of people that still have student loans out there. So, Dr. T, what's going on in that area?
Being that I mentioned, I work for a lot of nonprofits and building my career as a psychologist in therapy. So I also am privileged to be able to be part of the public service loan forgiveness program.
Okay.
And I've been holding, on because there's been a lot of changes since Donald Trump and their administration been in with the Department of Education and what that looks like. So I started, again, tracking this. I think I'm in it enough to be able to still qualify, but everything's been on hold from all the previous applications. And I did some some research, and it's saying that there's nearly 24 million borrowers over the age of 35, and people, let's see, what we got here. People over 60 are the fastest growing population in student debt.
The fastest growing, if you're over 60?
Over 60, between 35
over?
and over 60 are the fastest growing. And you would think, well, what are they? Well, they're those that had supported loans for their children to go through college and then for themselves.
Okay.
I think Pell Grant helped me very earlier on. If it wasn't for Pell Grant, I wouldn't even been able to go to college in the first place.
So I
appreciate all that support. And then as I got into my post-grad, I had to pay out of pocket because I kind of utilized all of that. But then I also started working back into nonprofit to be able to support the loans and to help others in that regard. But what's interesting enough, too, that it's not just me that's in that age range. Among the boroughs, they say there are 6 to 10 or older federal grant that increased nearly 27% since
federal grants?
Yeah, that increased since nearly 27% since 2017. So it's just getting more and more debt out there.
And that and this president is supposed to be he's cutting the debt. And of course, by the small people, we're carrying the debt, not those that are the wealthy are not doing that. But so he's just making it harder for us again.
And that's part of what the new policy for public service loans, that's the PSLF, The new administration is saying that, and I went to their White House website because again, I kind of go to how they're wording it, and then how it trickles down, and what's the key kind of takeaways from that. So the public service loan was pretty much put in place in 2007 to provide support for nonprofit agencies and workers to have loan relief. Because you're doing public service. So what the current administration is saying, and usually these nonprofits, they support anybody, transgenders, handicapped, immigrants, and people like me. Like I said, I would go into the homes. I help these people who would never necessarily not have that support. I teach for universities. That's part of the public service loan bank of organizations that can qualify. So now the key takeaways that I'm taking from this new law that they're trying to pass, a new rule that would exclude nonprofit employers from the public service loan forgiveness if they engage in illegal activities moves closer to being official. Advocates say that this would allow an educational secretary to ban nonprofit organizations like nonprofit immigrant or transgender youth aid organizations from the PSLF based on their subjective beliefs.
Which means it could be anything, all over the board. Yeah.
So if the government finds that helping transgenders or immigrant in a program, they can cut that employer from the PSLF, and then hence that 35 to 60 plus people who's on that program won't be able to get loan forgiveness.
Now explain, what's the PLASF?
That's the PSLF, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. That was established in 2007 to help employers get benefits for people coming out of public service, like medical doctors, therapists, teachers. Well, teachers got their own kind of, I believe, kind of loan forgiveness as well, but police officers that work for nonprofit to have their loans reduced or forgiven after 120 payments.
Yeah.
The new administration is trying to change that by now taking away the various organizations that I have supported and others people continue to support between that 30 and 65 age group, to take them off that list of provider.
Here we go again with Donald Trump, the president of the United States, y'all's president of the United States.
Whoever voted,
and then obviously here in Indiana, our governor, who follows Trump's, he's like his shadow. Anything that he does, Mike Braun, who's the governor of Indiana, will do the same thing. And of course, he's the Attorney General, Todd Rickie, he'll do the same thing because he wants to be a king too. So we've got, and then Jim Banks, who just got elected as senator. I read where he's following the same thing. So here in Indiana, we're in trouble because we got a governor that follows the president,
and that can have fun.
We got an attorney general that follows the president, and then we've got a junior senator that follows the president. Whatever he says goes. And it's once again, we've got a year and a half before elections. 18 months, folks.
We've got
the primary elections. We've got, so a third of Congress, the House of Representatives, all of the House of Representatives, a third of the Senate is coming up for re-election. We got to do something.
Put it in there.
Now's our time to get ready. Make sure you're registered. I'm going to go back to that. If you're not registered, you can't vote. Make sure you're registered so we can have a voice and a say-so in what's going on in our government. If you don't like what's happening, then get rid of the Congress, get rid of your senators, get rid of them, and put people in there that's going to work for you.
Right, because just imagine these nonprofit organizations are going to affect hospitals as well. So if people are doing things to help the community, it's taking away the support we need for gun violence prevention and family support and resources. And then I talked about burnout. If now we got our debt to serve, we're not getting paid a lot, because I had a few kids that say, "You just doing this for the money." I was like, "What money?
What money? I get bare minimum, y'all."
What money? So I think that's going to take away a lot of incentive for people to do this kind of nonprofit work.
And it's needed.
And it's needed.
It's a need.
So I'm hoping
it's a need. It's a need.
I don't know how long or when this law would pass, but they're definitely going in that direction to have a subjective view on what they qualify as illegal purpose of not allowing that organization to qualify for PSL.
Well, and then we're still jumping around again because it just come to mind when you mentioned that. We've got another issue that's facing the country and the state of Indiana, because the same president and our local officials statewide, they want to do what they can to get rid of public broadcasting. You know, stations, your TV, and some of your radio programs that are considered public broadcasting, because the president said, he said, well, all those public stations, TV and radio, they're all Democrats. They're all Democratic. That's not the case. Public broadcasting is not a Democrat. It's not a Republican. It's not. It's there for the public. So he wants to get rid of those by cutting their budgets. And so the programs that you watch on public broadcasting TV and listen to on the radio are in jeopardy. You know, in fact, they're already starting to cut. So the program is going to be less and less. The staff is going to be less and less because, you know, no budget, no money. The government's cutting, the state's cutting as well. You know, these are our programs.
Right, and I think Netflix are going to pick up Sesame Street or
something.
Sesame
Street. Yeah, so Netflix is doing that, so they can't touch that now. But the mere fact, I mean, come on. He wants to be a dictator. The president wants to be a dictator. The governor kind of wants to be a dictator because he's following the ultimate dictator, Donald Trump. And then, you know, our attorney general, he wants to be a little captain, colonel, whatever you want to call him. You know, what's that, Napoleon? Was that the back in the day?
Right.
And so, and then our Jim Banks is doing the same thing, which is the same person that when one of the public employees saw him on the elevator, said, you know, can you help us? And he just went off on the guy like, oh, you know, you deserve it. You deserve to be fired.
Right.
He didn't know him from Adam.
Right.
You know.
And it's good you say that, because podcasts such as ours is to provide a diverse view on any type of issue or circumstance that's taking place in our world and in our city. And you have a GoFundMe.
Yes, let's talk about
that that we just are going to put out there to help continue this message. And we also encourage diverse, like we all have our we all are entitled to our own
equity,
opinion on things. But we also, I believe, and how I joined the team was that you, Rickie, provides that outlet and that voice to kind of keep things relevant and to kind of talk through solutions. And I'm hoping as we continue to build, as we have, to get comments and questions, to have their voices and relate to others. And I think as long as we can do this and stay on air, and thankful for Wish TV for providing this opportunity. What is about the GoFundMe? What is the
GoFundMe is to keep our program on the air. It takes dollars and cents to be able to maintain this program. You know, we have to pay for these things. So therefore, we need your help, America, Indiana, United States, everybody in the world, to contribute to our GoFundMe account, which you can find on our Facebook, diversityfocustoday.com, on Facebook, and you can also go to our YouTube channel, Diversity Focus Today. I think that's listed with Diversity Focus Today.
That's just it.
That's just it? Okay. Because I know one of them has a Diversity Focus Today with Rickie Clark, but it'll get you to the same thing.
Right.
But so we have that GoFundMe account, so please, please, please support us so we can keep telling the story.
Right.
Telling being your voice, because, you know, the government is trying their very best to quiet you. They don't want you to know about this. They don't want you to know about that. And, you know, the big, beautiful bill is not a big, beautiful bill. It sucks.
It's now law.
it's not law.
Right.
You know. So, well, it is now law, because they passed it.
Right.
But, you know, we got to do something. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to drown.
I think this would be a good time to let the audience know about how you came up with DFT as a magazine, because I don't think quite new. This isn't just a recent endeavor. It's been there for a while.
The Diversity Focus Today, which started as a magazine, has been around for going on 17 years. And I created that for the voice of the people, for the voice of small business, for the voice of various forms of diversity. I mean, we cover everything, whether it's women, whether it's veterans, whether it's handicapped, whether it's the LGBTQ community, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, brown, blue, whatever. Because in America, we didn't have, our voices were getting smaller and smaller. And so we did that and to lift up those areas along with small business, so they could compete with the larger companies and get the contracts and get this and get that and know what's going on.
And that's contributed to a lot of major black businesses and so here in Indiana today.
Yeah, well, not only black, but
or just anybody.
You know, any business of sort that's considered a minority. You know, women have you know, grew tremendously. The brown community, Hispanic community, you know, the Jewish community, all that. So we just wanted to be that additional voice, that's additional spoke in the wheel. You know, we didn't want to be the squeaky, because the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and we're going to be squeaking, you know. And so I know those on the other side of the fence that are like, oh man, we don't want them saying that. They're providing too much information, but information is key.
Right.
Information is knowledge.
Word is power.
Word is power, and that is why we do what we do. And through the help of this media broadcasting facility, our great director and producer, Alan Hall, we're able to get things done. Yes.
And I appreciate you bringing me into this. And I didn't see it in my preview in life, you know, but I'm glad I'm here, and I'm thinking I'm making a difference on a variety of topics that we had put to place. So I definitely support and could continue to support you.
Well, thank you. You and Mike Murray and Brian Wallace, who folks you don't see, but Brian is putting all this stuff together, the things that make things happen. And so if you got comments, questions, whatever, you can go to the website.
Yep. Facebook.
Or the Facebook.
Yep. .com, diversityfocustoday.com. And YouTube station,
on the YouTube
Clark.
station, and if you're late night, the Channel 8 Wish TV has us on at 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. But you can go to, for those of you that that are not up that late, or you just coming home from the clubs or the party or whatever, just flick us on. Oh, there they are. You know, sponsors.
They can also get sponsored their business or ads.
Sure, and you don't have to be a business. I mean, with a GoFundMe account, if you're just a John Q. citizen, you know, and you want to contribute $1, you know, or 50 cents, you can do that. It adds up. So, you know, this is what we need to maintain and continue being the voice of the people, by the people, and for the people. So therefore, let's, you know, and that is going to our GoFundMe account. You can find that out on the, YouTube and then our Facebook. Right?
Yep.
Right. Okay. We got less than 30 seconds, so Dr. T, you got anything?
Been a pleasure. I wish Mike Murray well in all his endeavors, and look forward to seeing him back on our next show.
Diversity Focus Today. Plus, oh man, she's gonna kill me because I'm
gonna be dead before the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna run out of time. We'll talk about that in our next edition of Diversity Focus Today.